I will call the Tuesday, May 3rd, 2022 Urbandale City Council meeting to order. Can you please take the roll?
Carberry Montgomery,
Here.
Kroll. Here. McBurney,
Here.
Obrecht,
Here.
and Blake is absent.
Thank you. Please stand as you are able for the Pledge of Allegiance. Tonight we have Noah Reeson, an Urbandale resident, that's going to lead us in the pledge. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Thank you, Noah, for leading us this evening. Can I get a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved by Kroll, seconded by McBurney. Please vote. Okay, I think I've already made my first mistake. The Urbandale is a national leader in character count, endeavoring at all times to promote and model the principles of trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, and caring and citizenship. In conducting tonight's meeting, we expect that all participants will act in a respectful manner consistent with these principles. Thank you. Okay, we have three proclamations on tonight's agenda. The first thing I would like to do, though, is acknowledge that today, for the very first time in a century, the city's zip code of 50322 will match today's date, and the city has released special commemorative postcards for this rare, once-in-a-century occasion. I encourage all residents to partake in 50322 Day by enjoying one of Urbandale's beautiful parks, trails, or businesses. And don't forget to visit City Hall while supplies last to collect your limited edition commemorative postcards. And they are actually quite beautiful. And I encourage you all to stop by in the entryway and collect them. And thank you, Derek, for your wonderful handiwork on getting those completed. On to the proclamations for this evening. The first one is for National Police Week 2022. Whereas Congress and the President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day and the week in which it falls as National Police Week, and whereas since the first recorded death in 1791, more than 2,300 law enforcement officers in the United States have been killed in the line of duty protecting their communities, including Urbandale Police Officer Justin Martin. And whereas it is important everyone know and understands the difficulties, duties, and responsibilities of their police department. Now, therefore, I, Bridget Montgomery, Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Urbandale, call upon all citizens of Urbandale to observe May 15th through May 21st as National Police Week, and to commemorate police officers past and present who by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities have rendered a dedicated service to their communities, and in doing so have earned for themselves an enduring reputation for preserving the rights and security of all citizens. I further call upon the citizens of Urbandale to observe Sunday, May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day to honor the service and sacrifice of those law enforcement officers killed in the line of duty while protecting our communities. Signed and sealed this third day of May 2022. Do we do a picture or we already did that? Okay. Thank you to all of our police for their commitment and dedication to our community. The next item on the agenda is National Public Works Week 2022. Whereas public work professionals focus on the infrastructure, facilities, and services that are that are vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health and high quality of life the residents and businesses of Urbandale expect. And whereas the Ready and Resilient National Public Works Week 2022 theme highlights the ability of public work professionals to perform regular public works duties and be ready at a moment's notice to react as first responders during natural disasters. These professionals make our community a great place to live and work. And whereas 2022 marks the 62nd annual National Public Works Week, which since 1960 has energized and educated the public on the importance of public works in their daily lives. National Public Works Week is a week to inquire, learn, and appreciate Urbandale's public works professionals who plan, build, manage, and maintain the city's 210 miles of streets, 246 miles of sanitary sewer and wastewater system, collect 310 tons of garbage and yard waste weekly, and who will oversee the construction of $26.2 million in public infrastructure in 2022. Now, therefore, I, Bridget Montgomery, Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Urbandale, on behalf of the Urbandale City Council, do hereby designate the week of May 15th to 21st, 2022 as National Public Works Week. Thank you to our Public Works staff for their commitment to our cities. Was very taken by the comment in here that they are first responders during natural disasters, and I think we've seen that over and over the last few years, and I really appreciate the committed staff that we have in our Public Works department. Moving on to our last proclamation, 2022 Building Safety Month. Whereas the City of Urbandale recognizes that its growth and strength depends on having safe homes, buildings, and infrastructure, both in everyday life and when disasters strike, and whereas our confidence in the resilience of these buildings that make up our community is achieved through building safety and fire prevention officials, architects, engineers, builders, tradespeople, design professionals, laborers, plumbers, and others in the construction industry who work year-round to ensure the safe construction of buildings. And whereas these professionals are dedicated members of the International Code Council, a nonprofit that brings together local, state, territorial, tribal, and federal officials who are experts in the built environment. And whereas the theme for Building Safety Month 2022 is Safety for All, Building Codes in Action, which encourages us all to raise awareness about the planning for safe and sustainable construction, understanding disaster mitigation, energy conservation, and creating a safe and abundant water supply. Now, therefore, I, Bridget Montgomery, Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Urbandale, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2022 as Building Safety Month. And thank you to our building department and our planning department for all the work that they do to keep our built environment safe. Thank you. Okay, I think we have all of the proclamations for tonight's meeting done. We'll move on to the Citizens Forum. At this time, individuals may address the City Council on matters that are not part of tonight's regular agenda. And I know that we have our Supervisor, Robert Brownell, in the audience who would like to speak to us first, so I'll let him go, and then we'll open it up to the public when he's done.
All right, thanks very much, Mayor Pro Tem and members of the council. This is a nice, pleasant surprise to see you there in that seat, rather than the usual occupant. Oh, just kidding, Bob. Robert Brownell, 8817 Hickman Road, now a proud resident of Urbandale and a member of Urbandale 12 precinct, so I now can vote for or against each one of you. I'm not able to do that before. It's just been Clive. Now, happy to be here. We did want to give you a little bit of update. I think it's my first time here this year, actually, or maybe second at the most. A couple of things for you. We just embarked, I'm chair of the 911 board, and we just embarked on having a new platform through 911 called Rapid SOS, and Jerry could probably explain this better than I can, but what Rapid SOS does is when you make a 911 call to one of our PSAPs, and that's Public Safety Answering Points. When I say Public Safety Answering Point, just pretend I'm saying 911 Dispatch Center. Yours is Westcom, of course, and when that 911 center gets a call, it has some information on it, like where you're calling from, who's on the phone, those kinds of things, but it doesn't have things like if you have any disabilities or infirmities, how many people are in the house, ages, those kinds of things. We had one system called Smart 911 for a while, and out of 500,000 people here in Polk County, we had a grand total of 618 people using it, and some of those were duplicates. So it didn't get a real good traction with Smart 911. Rapid SOS, why is that going to be better? Well, 69%, 69%, almost 70% of all the PSAPs in Iowa use Smart 911. Smart 911 also accesses other platforms that you may be on, for example, Uber, Apple, and others, and plugs information into that. And of course, it has to be released by you, but those kinds of things can kind of feed into those platforms. And the cost is right because it's free. Apple and Uber, I just mentioned them, they paid Smart Rapid SOS, and so the PSAPs across the country get them for free. So even if we'd gone with the state system, it would have cost the 911 board over $120,000 a year, split three ways, of course, between Polk County, City of Des Moines, and Westcom. But this is free, and it's used very widely across the state of Iowa and across the country. 4,700 different PSAPs use it across the country. So we think it's going to be better, and it's easier for the dispatchers to use, and so I think it's going to be a better thing. So I don't know that you'll see any difference yourselves, but I think it's going to enhance our service with the 911 dispatch centers. The other piece I wanted to talk about is mental health. We've made some changes with our mental health delivery system. We had a nonprofit in the middle between us and the providers for quite a while, and the reason that it was called Polk County Health Services. They did a good job, good credible job. Wasn't they doing a bad job? They originally created in the 70s to be a conduit for funding between the United States federal government and locals. And back in those days, the state had a requirement that if you got grant money, even from the feds, you had to have a referendum, 60% referendum, unless it went to a nonprofit. So thus, Polk County Health Services was born, and that money was used to build a sand center at Broadlawns. So the nonprofit lived on because the level of animus between the Polk County Board of Supervisors and the Broadlawns Board of Trustees was so great that they served as a buffer system between the two. And of course, from those days, it kind of evolved into what it is now, or what it was anyway, up to a couple of weeks ago, which was basically a delivery service for mental health services, disability services in this county. When the legislation changed to have the state pay for everything, the Board of Supervisors became responsible for how that money gets spent. So we wanted to have a little more accountable system, a little more transparent system. So we moved Polk County Health Services system out of the middle and hired all their people to become Polk County employees. So the clients and the providers should notice no difference. In fact, hopefully a little bit better. We think it'll save some money, not tons, but some, and that money will be plowed back into services. I can't get into the weeds too much about what that's going to look like because we have contracts that exist that could be terminated or modified, and so we don't want to get into that at this point. But we think there's savings there, and that money can be plowed back into services and should allow us to move forward a little more aggressively in children's mental health in particular, and some other things with having to do with substance abuse. So we shall see, but there'll probably be a story in the paper about that. It's a tough vote for me. I voted for it, and I had a tough time with it because I thought Polk County Health Services was doing a good job. Their board's a good board. They've got good folks on there, and they've done a good job with this. But I just think intuitively, on balance, this is probably a better thing for our organization, for the providers, for the clients. So that's why I voted for it. Finally, not least, Bridget and I were just talking, and Larry and Amy were just talking about ARPA, and we have 4 different ARPA buckets we're dealing with. One of them, affordable housing, has been pretty well allocated to Polk County Housing Trust Fund for the most part, about $15 million, and $300,000 additional between us and the City of Des Moines for financial coaching and financial literacy, and then the $3 million for a revolving loan fund that helps people make down payments and so forth, and getting into home ownership. So that money will revolve. But we've got a lot of interest from Eric Burmeister, is the executive with Polk County Housing Trust Fund. A lot of interest from various developers wanting to get in on this and build affordable housing. It'll probably amount to about 600 units of affordable housing, which sounds impressive, and it is. It's good. But our census data tells us that we're about 11,000 units short in this county of reaching some kind of equilibrium between supply and demand. So while it's good, it's not anywhere near the solution. Economic well-being is another bucket that we're talking about. We talked about that a little bit here earlier. Mental health is another one. We're coming up to the conclusion of that. And then water quality. which we're working on right now. And that's one that's interesting because we've done a lot of investment along 4 Mile Creek, and I think to the good, but I won't get into the weeds on that. Anyway, that's what we're doing. Every city, for the audience's benefit, every city and every municipality has ARPA dollars. Urbandale has about 6.6, I think, AJ, if I'm not mistaken. And that sounds like a lot until you start doing capital investments. That goes pretty fast. But we got 97 million, and that doesn't go so fast. Everybody's got their hand out. And it's not, we're trying to make it so it's not a grant program. It's more of a strategic idea that we have in mind. But, you know, there's some things that are one-time expenses. Those are very rare. I think it's kind of a unicorn because even if they're one-time expenses, there's usually sustainability issues within those one-time programs. And, but, you know, some of them are going to be ongoing programs, and we just have to have our eyes open about that and move on with some confidence that we can get these jobs done and that they'll do some good and help people become self-sufficient. Speaking of which, and this is my last thing, I guess. I said this, the ARPA was my last thing. This is really my last thing. Hats off to UCAN. They really stepped up with the Afghan refugees, delivering a lot of feminine products, diapers, formula, food, and so forth. Didn't make a big splash out of it, just did it. And so hats off to them for doing that. And USCRI informed me the other day that of their Afghan refugees they've had here for 6 months, 100% of them are self-sufficient right now. So they're very hardworking, and the ones that have come in just recently are the ones that are having trouble. And so, because that's just the way it is, the more, when you get here, you have the bigger language barriers and things like that. So we're working on that. We've got a couple things in mind we're working with the Bureau of Refugee Services on, and hopefully have that solved here in the next week or two. Anyway, that is my spiel, and if you have any questions or comments, I'd be happy to try to take them.
Thank you, Supervisor Brownell. I guess my only comment is we'd love to see some of those affordable housing dollars directed here to Urbandale. That's one of our strategic priorities, so I'll just put in that plug. Anyone else have any comments?
I did mention your project to Mr. Burmeister, and he said he just loves you guys. I think I got him straightened out, but he's very high on what you've been doing over here.
Anyone else with comments? Well, thank you, Supervisor Brownell, and I think you'll be able to get out of here for dinner just in time.
That's good. Good from my perspective, anyway. Thanks.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak to the council tonight on matters that are not on tonight's agenda? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item, which is to approve the minutes for April 19th, 2022.
Move to approve. I'll second it.
Moved by Obrecht, second by McBurney. Please vote. Sorry, my monitor thing turned off.
Oh.
So I know both Amy and I were not here, so we both abstained. Is this problematic for
Yes.
us to approve the minutes?
Correct. We can take it up on the next one.
Okay, so we will defer the approval of the April 19th, 2022 minutes to the next meeting. I think that's a unique situation we were just in. How about a motion to approve the minutes for the City Council and Planning Zoning Commission joint meeting on April 20th? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve. Looks like we were all there for that one, so I'll second it.
Moved by Obrecht, second by McBurney. Please vote. The motion is carried. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items 6.1 through 6.10 for approval?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Moved by Kroll, seconded by McBurney. The motion is carried. Moving on to public hearings. The first item is public hearing and consideration of bids for the 128th Street pavement replacement project. Published notice for this was published on April 15th in the Des Moines Register. I would ask the clerk if there were any objections to this notice as published.
There were none.
Great. I'm asking for a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Moved by McBurney, seconded by Obrecht. Please vote. I will turn it over to John Larson, the Director of Public Works and Engineering, to give us a presentation on this matter.
Good evening here. This is our bid tabulation for the 128th Street Pavement Replacement Project. On April 19th, the Iowa DOT received 4 bids for the project. We're recommending the low bid from Concrete Technologies in the amount of $1,482,360.20 be accepted. Their bid was approximately $136,000 or 10% more than our engineer's estimate. The overage was primarily contributed to the cost of the concrete paving. With this project, we did receive $750,000 in surface transportation block grant funding, and we're anticipating the project being completed by this fall. So just kind of run through the project in general. Up here to the north, at the top of the screen, is Webster Elementary and Aurora Avenue. We've got 128th Street here, and then Douglas Parkway at the bottom. So what we're doing is for the 2 northbound lanes, we're going to totally reconstruct those between Douglas Parkway and Aurora Avenue. And it's approximately 750 feet on the southbound lanes, just north of Douglas Parkway, we'll reconstruct. You can also see on here, there's kind of some orange rectangles or squares here. Those are just a few full depth patches that we'll also be doing. Just a little bit on the schedule quick. Basically, we're doing the project when Webster Elementary is out for the summer break. So we're gonna close 128th Street between June 2nd and August 23rd. And then after that, before school opens back up, we'll open up to at least 1 lane in each direction. So kind of explain a little bit what's going on. So again, we'll reconstruct these northbound 2 lanes. And before school opens back up, we'll have those 2 lanes constructed. We want to do the left turn lane here up at Aurora, a left turn lane down here at Douglas, and then the 2 intersections. And then of course the 2 lanes for the southbound. We'll have that done so we can open up 1 lane each direction before school starts, and then we'll come back. There'll be some sidewalks to do at each intersection, and then there's another intersection down here to complete. And then the patches, the contractor has the option to either do those while the whole road's closed or do those under traffic. So again, our plan though is to be done by fall. I guess with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions?
I guess, seems unusual to be replacing this new of a road. If I remember from CIP, there was something special about how this was constructed, that why we're doing it?
Actually, I think it was this was originally built in '97, and my understanding, there was a stretch where what I've been told is more or less there was some bad concrete and just a lot in that time period are having problems. There are some definite areas where it's just the joints have failed. There's also an area, a lot of it's the kind of the gutter joint has failed. That's something typically in Urbandale we do not do anymore. We do not add that extra joint, and it seems like that's made our streets last longer as well. So again, it's just a lot of just the joints were failing. So we did a cost analysis between doing some patches or trying to do some different types of patches and overlays, and actually the reconstruct was only a little bit more, and it just made more sense to do a full reconstruct than a maintenance project on it. You can see on this one, we still have kind of some of the same issues to the south as well on 128th Street.
John, what's the detour for this gonna be?
It'll be Meredith over to 121st Street and then back on Douglas.
And I'm assuming we'll do a really super great job of notifying the neighborhoods.
Right, and again, we'll have our message boards that go out as well, alerting everybody.
Okay, great. Any other discussion for John or questions? Is there anyone here to speak for or against the item? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by Kroll, second by Obrecht. Please vote. The motion is carried. Are there any comments or discussion from the council before we move on to approval?
I guess from a budget standpoint, maybe it's something to address in the future is we're 300,000 over on this project and some over on others. Maybe in the future, how deep is that pot of money that we're pulling from that we keep getting notices of savings from past projects is where it's coming from?
I guess
Maybe
I can maybe answer that one
Okay.
easily. On this one here, the savings do come from our past maintenance projects. We've approved the PCC patch phase 1, phase 2. This was the first year that it has come in over budget. So the past several years, we've been, 100,000 or so under. So we're actually using some of those funds. Every year we try to make the project a little bigger to use them. We were getting great bids till this year that they came over. So again, we just have this money that stays set aside for pavement maintenance projects, so we're dipping into that to cover this.
How much will be left after this is kind of what I was looking
Right,
at.
I think in just the pavement maintenance one, I think we probably maybe have 300,000-400,000 set aside there still from past savings.
So we're using about half of our savings on this one project. So we've got an end in sight that'll probably happen soon.
Correct, and what we'll do going forward, just because we haven't had to the last several years, is we'll start looking at bidding alternates so that we can pare the project down to be within budget.
Thank you. That was a good, good question. I've often wondered about that, where the magic money is. I know Nikki has it. but-
Printing press in Nikki's office.
Okay. Any other questions for John? Okay, we have 4 items to vote on. The first is the resolution 129-2022. I guess if someone can make a motion on each item.
Move
then-
resolution 129-2022.
Okay, moved by Obrecht.
Second.
Second by Kroll. Please vote. Sorry.
Then move resolution 130-2022.
Okay, that motion is carried. The second item, moved by Obrecht,
Second.
seconded by Kroll. Any discussion? Please vote. The item is carried. This is where the mayor can do these in his sleep, so.
Move resolution 131-2022.
Okay,
Second.
moved by Obrecht, second by Kroll. Please, a discussion. Please vote. That motion carries.
Move resolution 132-2022.
Second.
Moved by Obrecht, second by Kroll. Discussion, please vote. Okay, that motion is carried. Okay, moving on to item 7.2, public hearing and consideration of bids for the Sharon Heights Trail repair. The notice for this item was published on April 15th, 2022 in the Des Moines Register. I would ask the clerk if there were any objections to the notice as published.
There were none.
Great. Could I get a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Kroll, seconded by McBurney. Please vote. The motion is carried. Again, we have John Larson, the Director of Engineering and Public Works, to discuss this item.
And this is our bid tabulation for the Sharon Heights Trail project. It was on April 27th. The city received 2 bids for this project. We're recommending the low bid from Caliber Concrete in the amount of $112,275.61. Their bid was approximately $22,000 or 17% below our engineer's estimate. This trail will replace the existing asphalt trail with an 8-foot wide, 5-inch thick concrete trail with a length of approximately 1,750 feet. We anticipate the project being completed by September 16th. And just kind of show where the project is. So the trail we're replacing is the area in orange. So we're on the north side of Meredith Drive, to the east of Parkview Drive, and to the west of 78th Street. So again, the orange area is the area where we'll replace the trail, and I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions for John?
I guess concrete, is it going to have, cuts in the concrete, I'm guessing, because riding a bike on a concrete trail is different from riding an asphalt trail. So just curious, the riding condition for bikers.
Actually, it's kind of surprising, though, a lot of people do prefer the concrete trails, from what we hear from people. They kind of like it when we replace from the asphalt to the concrete, and I think this one's not one of the typical areas, like, but when we're in the parks, they're heavily treed. With the asphalt, we have probably more problems with roots and things than we do with the concrete.
Any other questions for John? Okay, is there anyone here to speak either for or against this item? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved by Kroll, seconded by McBurney. Please vote. Oh, the item is carried. I am so sorry. Do you have any more of those in your pocket? Okay, the motion is carried. Are there any comments from the council? Okay, there are 3 items under consideration for this motion, or this item.
Motion to approve resolution 136-2022.
Moved by McBurney,
Second.
second by Obrecht. Discussion, please vote. The motion is carried.
Motion to approve resolution 133-2022.
Second.
Moved by McBurney, second by Obrecht. Discussion, please vote. The motion is carried.
And motion to approve resolution 137-2022.
Second.
Moved by McBurney, seconded by Obrecht. Discussion, please vote. The item is carried. Moving on to item 7.3 in public hearings. This is for the 2022 sanitary sewer lining program. Published notice for this item was on April 15th, 2022 in the Des Moines Register. I would ask the clerk if there were any objections to this notice as published.
There were none.
Thank you. This is the item that we are going to defer to the next meeting, but we're going to still open the public hearing if there's anyone here to comment. So can I get a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Seconded.
Motion by Kroll, second by McBurney. Discussion, please vote. Okay, that motion has passed. Is there anyone here to speak on this particular item tonight? Because we will take public comment even though we're deferring the item to the next meeting. Okay, seeing none, we will move on, but we still need need a motion to continue the public hearing to May 17th.
Oh, do we need to close the public hearing first? Okay. Okay.
So I move to continue the public hearing to May 17th.
I'll second it.
Okay, moved by Kroll, second by McBurney. Please vote. The motion is carried. Okay, one last public hearing. Public hearing in consideration of bids for the storm sewer and sanitary sewer easement vacations, Lot 2 of the Valerius subdivision.
I move to open the public hearing.
Oh, wait. Notice for this was published on April 28th in the Des Moines Register. I would ask the clerk if there were any objections to the notices published.
There were none.
Thank you. Now I will take a motion to open the
Still
public.
move to open the public hearing.
Second.
Moved by Kroll, seconded by Obrecht. Discussion, please vote. Okay, the motion is carried. I will turn it over to Steve Franklin to discuss.
Thank you. Good evening. As you noted, this is to vacate a couple of easements
that are in the way. These are old easements associated with the Valerius Elementary School. And in the reconstruction, they're in the way. New easements have been recorded, so we need to vacate these two old easements. So this is the location of the old school, this hatched area here, just to show you the difference in where they take up the property, this being the overall property, kind of long east to west. And the new school, actually, it has this kind of configuration. So it's much more farther to the north and much wider. The old easements kind of came through this area. So again, they were in the way. New easements have been recorded. This is just a cleanup procedure to get rid of those two older easements that we no longer need. Be happy to answer any questions.
Is there anyone here to speak either for or against this item? Seeing none, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Kroll, seconded by Obrecht. Discussion, please vote. Are there any comments from the council?
Motion to approve resolution 135-2022.
Second.
Moved by McBurney, seconded by Kroll. Discussion, please vote. The motion is carried.
And motion to approve the first reading of ordinance 2022-06.
Second.
Moved by McBurney, seconded by Kroll. Discussion, please vote. The motion carries. Okay, thank you. Moving on to item 8.1, establish a public hearing for the Urbandale Dog Park. Jan Herkey is here if there's any questions.
Move resolution 134-2022, and I would have to say finally behind that.
I'll second it.
Moved by Obrecht, second by McBurney. I reiterate Adam's comment. Go, Jan. Okay, the motion carries. Okay, moving on to plan and zoning items. 9.1 Waterford Point Plat 3 preliminary plat.
Okay, this is a preliminary plat. This is a carryover from 2 weeks ago. This is about 13 acres of the overall Waterford Point development, and specifically within that PUD, this is parcel B. There was an amendment to the PUD that was approved to allow single-family residential homes on this parcel rather than townhomes. And so what you see here is the proposed 38 lots. They all have a minimum width of 50 feet, 2 access locations off of 142nd Street. Meredith Drive, this is the trail that's underneath the power lines that go through there. And so Meredith Drive is way down here to the south. So this is the area just north of where those power lines are. Planning and Zoning Commission recommends approval subject to the items noted and would be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Steve?
The reason that we delayed a week, did that, obviously, there were some staff things that we wanted to resolve. I'm guessing they got resolved?
Correct. Yep. We discussed that particular pavement width issue with the developer, and we're able to make a compromise there such that we remove that requirement.
Any other questions for Steve? Okay, do I have a motion?
I move council letter 7048.
Second.
Moved by Kroll, seconded by Obrecht. Discussion, please vote. The motion carries. Item 9.2, Denver Mattress. What do you have for us, Steve?
This is a site plan for a Denver Mattress location. This is Plum Drive. Home Depot is immediately off to the right here, and Target is immediately to the south or at the bottom of the sheet. So this is that triangular parcel that's in between the two. And so they would build on a portion of that lot. The white rectangle that you see here in the middle is the building itself, and then the gray would be the parking around the building. So there would be access coming over from Home Depot, from that parking lot, and then also access off of Plum Drive into the parking lot. The parcel is about just over 4 acres in size. The building is about 11,490 square feet. It's about 22 feet in height. And here are the elevations for you to see what that looks like. Single story, but again, about 22 feet tall. Planning and Zoning Commission recommends approval, subject to items noted. Would be happy to answer questions.
Any questions?
I guess just more generic on Plum Drive. I mean, it seems like there's not a lot of traffic control along there currently. Now we're starting to get a little development. What's that tipping point that we start talking about some traffic control between Northwest Urbandale Drive and 100th Street?
Thoughts? That's kind of more John's bailiwick than mine, so I'm.
Really, I think a lot of this is set up to remain as is. Not really looking for traffic signals. I don't think they'll meet the warrants on this stretch. And typically, again, on a stretch like this in the arterial, we wouldn't have stop signs or things added.
So just coming out of Target, there seems to be a lot of traffic confusion that happens there. And so I don't know if there's accident reports accordingly, but
I don't
seeing as how
believe
this
there's
is
a
right
common
in that
accident
area, I didn't know if
location.
there'd be anything there.
It does not pop up as one of our main accident locations. I can see the number for sure. What's happening with that.
I think when we've looked in the past, yeah, there was not a lot of crashes there.
Okay, so it looked like the back access of this would go over to that road as well. Is that right?
Oops, sorry.
And part of what we hope takes care of things is exactly situations like this, where if you're at Target and you want to go here, you can come through this direction. You don't have to go out and around. Same thing coming from Home Depot. We like having those connections that kind of serve basically as a frontage road. So we hope that that will help the situation, but.
I've been attempting to make that movement for the last 15 years.
Hasn't worked yet.
And it
has
still hasn't worked. I still think it should every time that I attempt to go between the two. You can ask my husband. So I'm very excited to see this internal connection between.
Perspective is everything. I still remember doing some Christmas shopping at Target before Plum Drive was in, and I don't remember how many hours I waited, it felt like, to turn left to get out, to go out, to go out with the traffic coming. But yeah, this will definitely help things, I think, in that
Well, I'm
respect.
very excited to see more development in our urban loop area. Do we have a motion to approve?
I move to approve Council Letter 7067.
I'll second it.
Moved by Kroll, seconded by McBurney. Discussion, please vote. And that motion carries. Moving on to regular agenda items. Item 10.1, 2022 Series A General Obligation Bond Sale. Let me turn my cheat sheet over. Do we have any questions on these items? I believe Nikki is online. If anyone has any questions. Okay, seeing no discussion, could I get a motion, please?
I move to approve Resolution 138-2022.
Second.
Moved by Kroll, second by Obrecht. Discussion, please vote. The motion carries. Moving on to item 10.2, 28E Agreement Termination for a Friends Refuge.
If I may, we have
Oh,
one
I move
more
to
item
approve
there.
Resolution 139-2022.
Oh,
To be honest.
getting pretty excited. Moved by Kroll, second by McBurney. Discussion, please vote. In my defense, the mayor does not also have to vote during the running of the meeting, so that's a lot of balls to juggle there. So, okay, moving on to item 10.2, 28E Agreement Termination. And I'll turn it over to Chief Johansson.
Mayor Pro Tem and members of council, the first item up here is termination of our current 2080 agreement with Furry Friends, West Des Moines, and Clive. This is the agreement we had in place when we were part of WestPet, or we still are, but That'll be ending June 30th, and so we also need to terminate this 2080 agreement of all those parties together and come up with our own separate agreements, which is the next item that we have on the agenda. Answer any questions if you have any.
Okay, seeing no questions, can I get a motion?
Move to approve Resolution 127-2022.
I'll second it.
Moved by Kroll, seconded by McBurney. Discussion, please vote. Motion carries. Item 10.3 is the 2080 agreement, animal control sheltering services with Furry Friends, also represented by Chief Johansson.
Yep, so the next item up here is the new 2080 that we're establishing with Furry Friends Refuge for our pet sheltering and impoundment for our wayward pets in the city. And continuing that relationship that we've had with Furry Friends as when we were part of WestPet, we're going to do that now as a separate entity. We are, as you're aware, we are partnering with Polk County for the field services of picking up our animals, and they are going to bring them over to Furry Friends when they capture them, if they capture them. But the agreement, I think we've talked about in the past here, and we also had a lunch and learn on it. It includes an agreement to participate in a trap, neuter, and return program for community cats. And I'd be happy to answer any questions or explain anything further if needed.
Any discussion? Okay, can I get a motion?
Move to approve Resolution 128-2022.
I'll second it.
Moved by Kroll, second by McBurney. Discussion, please vote. The motion is carried.
Could I say one more thing? while I'm
Yes.
up here? So we talked about, we had a proclamation for Police Week, and I just wanted to mention at the council meeting, we usually take that picture up front, and that's when I get this in, so I'm sliding it in now. But we're going to have our police memorial service on May 10th at 5:30 at Eternity Church in Clive, and that address is 2000 Northwest 100th Street in Clive. We're partnering with them this year. We've always partnered with all the other law enforcement agencies in the metro, and Clive is going to host it this year, our service that we've not been able to have for the last 2 years due to COVID. So I hope everybody can make it that night and honor those that gave their life in the line of duty. Thank you.
Thank you for that announcement. I think the council members received an email regarding that. So thank you, Chief Johansson, for that. And I'm sorry, we didn't do the picture during the meeting. Derek runs a tight ship, I guess. So, okay, moving on to item 10.4, service agreement regarding governmentjobs.com. Director of Human Resources, Aaron Freeman, is on the line if there's any questions. Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion?
I move to approve Resolution 140-2022.
Second.
Moved by Kroll, second by Obrecht. Please, discussion. Please vote. Motion carries. Moving on to item 10.5, professionals service agreement for Lion Park Master Plan. You have a question
I
mark.
have a question mark. I didn't fill it, and that would be Scott Houck, our Assistant Park and Recreation Director, would happy to answer any questions that you have.
Is there any questions for Scott on this item? Okay, seeing none, do we have a motion for this item?
Motion to approve Resolution 141-2022.
Second.
Moved by McBurney, second by Obrecht. Discussion, please vote. Okay, the item is carried. Moving on to item 10.6, purchase fire and safety training building enhancements. Chief Jerry Holt is here to answer any questions that there may be. Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve Council Letter 7058.
Second.
Moved by Kroll, second by McBurney. Discussion, please vote. The motion is carried. Moving on to item 10.7, equipment purchase, dump trucks with snow removal equipment. John Larson is here if there's any questions. Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Just one quick question. What's the timeline on receipt of these? Are we still? Okay, so we're still ways out.
Motion to approve council letter 7036.
Second?
A move by McBurney, second by Kroll. Discussion, please vote. The motion is carried. Moving on to item 10.8, purchase of roadway salt, and I believe that is also John Larson, if there are any questions.
Move approval of council letter 7055.
Second?
Moved by Obrecht, second by Kroll. Discussion, please vote. Wow, we did it. Okay, I will start with Adam. Do you have any items to discuss?
I'm sorry I cursed everybody. I mentioned rain barrels last meeting and mine is now definitely full, so. But no, good otherwise.
I will add to that, Polk County Conservation does have rain barrels for sale if you need one.
Thank you, Amy. Larry, do you have any items?
Yeah, first kickoff for Grow Solar Polk County Power Hour is this Thursday, I believe, at 6:30 p.m.
And that's
in Johnston. Yes, we will be having one here in June. I'm waiting for confirmation that they accepted our date. It'll be on a Thursday, so I'm just making sure that they accepted it.
And will that be at the library?
That'll be right here.
Oh, City Hall?
Yes.
Wow.
It's
Fancy.
the biggest meeting space in Urbandale. That's what I've been told. So.
Well, I've seen lots of promotion on Facebook, so I'm excited. People seem to be responsive to at least what I'm seeing on social media, so I'm excited to get the ball rolling on this.
So am I.
I guess, I have to say something now that I'm Mayor Pro Tem. I just wanted to give a big shout out to the police department. I was participating in a story time with DART a couple of weeks ago, and we did a little spin around Urbandale in the electric bus and ended up in the police department parking lot in a large bus. And so many thanks to the police department who helped us not only maneuver backwards up your winding road, but also stop traffic so that the bus could back onto Douglas and return us all safely to the library, a bus full of 40 toddlers. So it was very exciting. They got to see not only the police department in action, but our bus drivers in action. And I believe a good time was had by all. So thank you very much for whoever on your staff immediately jumped into that task of helping us get out of that situation. I think almost all of us have probably thought that you could get from Douglas to City Hall via the police department drive, but you actually cannot, so. Yeah, exactly. So I did learn that lesson one time. I think I was actually on the Plan and Zoning Commission though. But, it's an encouragement to not go through. Maybe you should say this actually does not go through, whatever you think, because So, thank you very much, Chief Johansson, for working with us. That is all I have. And do you have, if Mayor Bob is still on the line, do you have anything?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, thank you. Did a great job. Sorry I'm not there tonight, but good job by all. My apologies for not being there in person, but I'm on the mend. So.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to hear that, and hopefully I I honored your long service to our community. This is a little bit harder than any of us think it is, especially considering I had to vote as well, because running the
Well,
iPad.
I did like that line.
Running the iPad and keeping it from turning off while saying all the things you have to say is no easy task. So with that, I'll ask, we're not doing closed session. Okay. So with that, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, moved by Kroll, second by McBurney. We are adjourned.
Don't have anything to report?